Hey guys, this is Maddie, aka Matic-Imaging, aka formerly known as MaticDesigns. This is like the third time that I have been recording this as just a test. I don't know why I am so nervous about this whole thing, but as you might be able to tell, I'm not used to this sort of thing. I do live streams occasionally, at least in the past, and even then I have I've talked during those live streams, but I've never done anything kind of like this before. So I am quite nervous about it, but I'm hoping that over time I can get a little bit more relaxed and just kind of fit into the role a little bit nicer. And you're only able to see my hands this time because I'm not really a fan of showing my face. So that's just, I mean, you don't need to see my face anyways. We're not here for that. We are here to see the start of my art career, I guess you could say. First off, I do want to say that this setup is new. I don't really know what I'm doing. I do apologize for the bright spot. I have softened the lights up in the ceiling to make it a little bit less glary. However, this setup that I got did come with an extra light that is attached to the stand, and it is very nice. Great $10 investment. However, I'm not sure if it's the light that's too bright or my table is too shiny, and from what I've seen, I'm going to go with my table being too shiny. But it is a spare table that I just happen to own. It's even at the foot of my bed that was supposed to be used for traditional art, but fat chance that that's going to happen anytime soon. So why am I making this video instead of just diving straight into the mound of books that I have shown? Well, as I said, I want to get more used to this, but I also wanted to kind of set the tone. No, that's not the right thing I'm thinking about. This is more like the start, the very beginning that I've been able to come across. There were earlier things, obviously, but those have been long gone. They're long thrown away. But these two things that I want to show you are something that I've actually still kept, and I think they might be a little bit interesting. It's the earliest work of mine that I've been able to come across. So, a little bit of history about me. I'm currently living in Australia. I have been living here in Australia for about 20 years now. I'm almost 30 years old. So I've lived here for most of my life. However, I was born and raised in South Africa from, as I said, born up until I was about 10 years old. 2005 was when my family uprooted and moved over here. But so this work is so old, it was back from the South Africa period, which it's the only stuff that I have found that I still have from that time. So let us start. Okay, so the first one is going to need some context, and the context is this. This is a small book. And this small book was given to me by my mum. I think it was around when I was about 7 or 8 years old. The reason she gave it to me when I was so young was because, as most young children are, I was fascinated by her job. Now, my mum worked in a hospital, and she was a radiographer, which means that she was in the x-ray department. She took x-rays of people who needed to come in, especially through like the emergency department and all that. She's got a lot of funny stories about that time. She doesn't currently work as a radiographer, but that's a long story all on its own. She has the knowledge, but anyways. So this book, when I got it when I was a little kid, I was absolutely sorry, my dog was being funny. I was absolutely in love with this book. And when I look through it nowadays, I can kind of see why, because, well, for one, I love what my mum was doing, but the picture to text ratio in this book is actually not too bad. It's got a lot of interesting stuff and all these cool little pictures about the human body and you know, how it functions and all that. Ooh, nice picture of a juicy heart over there. And when I was young, I saw a lot of these illustrations, especially, I don't know where it is anymore. Ooh, boobies. Anyways, a lot of these illustrations from this book, I actually remember drawing when I was in aftercare, which, for those who don't know, it's a place you basically go to after school while you wait for your parents to finish work and then they take you home. My brother and I had to go there all the time when we were children, and I drew a lot of these things, especially like this part here. I remember quite vividly drawing this one as a child, and it really freaked out one of the carers there, which looking back on it now is pretty funny. So, what does this book have to do with anything? I'll show you. I'm going to bring it down from the top. Where is it? There it is. So, now, if I remember correctly, this was entered into like a local art gallery for the children of the schools around, because as you can see, it's got the school code, which I mean, I don't think it's going to matter if I say it. I went to a Sterling primary school. And category C, no idea what that means, but I was in grade 4 at the time, which means that I was about 9 to 10 years old. That's how old I remember that. And 2 gold stars, or circles. Now, how I remember it was when these pictures were submitted into these competitions, obviously there'd be the bronze, silver, and gold for how much they liked the picture, from you tried to you actually have some talent there. And if I'm remembering correctly, I was one of the only people that ever got 2 gold stars. So already pretty exciting for me when I was a 10-year-old girl. But this was what was submitted. Freaky. So inside my body, I believe, I don't know if that was the theme or if that was the title that they gave this picture, but looking back on it now, it was surprisingly accurate for the human body to the mind of a child, because there's obviously a lot of empty space there, which is not accurate at all. But what is accurate is that there is the liver, as well as even a tiny little gallbladder attached, and then there's the stomach with last night's dinner, and then it leads all the way down. I made sure that it actually connected to the small intestine there, because I actually had enough knowledge to know that the small intestine connected to the stomach, and then it turns into a load of spaghetti, and then it goes back into this big part down there. And when I looked at it more closely, it even included tiny little kidneys and random blood vessels everywhere. I didn't understand the blood vessels at that time, but honestly everything else was pretty damn good. And obviously my teachers thought, wow, that is pretty damn good. I think that's supposed to be the spine. I mean, if my spine looked like that, I probably wouldn't have as much back pain. Oh well. But, so, side note, I'm pretty sure that this, coupled with my mum being a radiographer, probably sparked my desire to go and work in healthcare myself. Because as much as I would have loved to have pursued a career in art, it's just not stable enough for me. Not necessarily because I wouldn't get enough commissions, it's just because me am not stable enough for it. So, yes, for those who don't know, I do actually work as a nurse in a hospital. Fun fact. Anyways, that's the first thing that I found while I was searching through all my stuff. And I was really excited to come across that. But then it's made me remember something else. Something that I did after that, I think. There was no dates around this time. Just a rough year. So I'm assuming that this next thing I'm going to show you is actually after that one. So, this is what I wanted to show. Now, this is not the original. That thing that inside my body is the original. It was oil pastels, and I know it's the original because it rubs off on my fingers. But this is not the original. This is a photocopy of this artwork that I did when I was around the same age, so 10 years old. Sure you can see there, 10 years old. Did I mention this before? The only reason I'm covering up my name here is just because I don't like my name. I would prefer to go by Matty. And it does have both my first and last name. The last name doesn't really matter to me anymore because I have a new last name because I'm married. But overall, I would just prefer Matty. So I've already gone through and covered up my name, if that's what you're wondering. So this picture here, I drew, I think it was the same year. I don't exactly remember. It's all a bit of a blur back in those days. But apparently, this picture was actually quite impressive for the time. Well, for a 10-year-old child. And if I'm remembering correctly, my teacher said it was impressive for two different reasons. One is just like the sheer amount of people that are in the scene that all have varying different poses and facial expressions. Very exciting. I know. And two, and this is the funny thing that I remember she mentioned, was that these two that are currently in the air, I decided to draw shadows underneath them. Now, I'm not sure why that was specifically mentioned, but I guess children didn't think about that kind of thing. There's no shading in the picture at all, other than just the implication of a shadow, but, you know, you do you. But she thought that this was actually quite impressive. So impressive, in fact, that without my knowledge, she decided to enter this into not only a local art competition, but an international art competition. So this is a book, a slightly bigger book than the other book. So I'm sure you have eyes. World's Children Art Exhibition in the Republic of China. Now, I had no idea that this happened at the time. It got entered in 2005, but I only found out about this at least a year later in 2006, after my family moved to Australia. And the only reason we found out was because somebody reached out to us from South Africa. I think it was either a family member or family friend, and they sent this stuff to us. And it was quite surprising, actually, because I didn't know any of this at the time. I was probably way too stressed out about the fact that, you know, we uprooted and moved halfway across the world. I was still not very happy at that time. But this definitely helped. So, I'm just going to have a quick little... I did mark some pages here. So in here, you could see all the different countries and all the different places that where the children were entered from. Some have a lot more entries than others, like Malaysia. That's a lot of different people that got entered into there. But South Africa, I only found this out in just the previous recording, only had four. Only four kids in the whole of South Africa got entered into this competition. So it kind of makes this next point probably not as impressive, but back then I was stoked. So of the 4 kids that got entered from South Africa, where is it? 2 got gold. Now, in my mind, I thought it was more like, 500 kids in all of South Africa got entered in this competition, only 2 got gold. But, you know, doesn't matter what I thought back then. The younger me is an idiot. But of the 2 kids that got gold, I was one of them. So, I can show you in here. There we go. See, lovely little me. Now it doesn't. Does it say? Yeah, no, it doesn't. I can get the medal if you really need the proof. I still actually have the medal saying that it got gold, but it's not really. It's less of a medal and more like a crappy plastic thing in a box that says, you know, 1 gold in this particular competition. But I don't think anybody really cares enough for that kind of proof. And as you can see, I have covered up my name, although my last name in this book actually is misspelt. And I probably could lift up the sticker a little bit here so I can show you. So, for those who don't know, my maiden last name was Todd, T-O-D-D. And our only theory for this was, when all capitalized, the name Todd, like, to somebody who is not familiar with English lettering and only speaks Chinese, that it all looks like O's. So that's why we think that it got misspelt. But yeah, I think that I actually even though that it happened a long time ago, I'm really proud of my little baby self for apparently being good enough for people to think that my work deserved to get awarded and submitted to competitions and published in a book, even though it happened a really long time ago. And I flipped through this book. There's people who are way more talented than I was, even at the same age as I was, but they thought that it was still good enough to submit. Then again, there was only 4 participants in all of South Africa, so maybe they just wanted to throw us a bone. I'm not entirely sure. But my theory is, because, you know, my memory is bad at the best of times, I think that this is probably what sort of kicked off my desire to draw more and to get better in general. Because I haven't looked through my books yet. I tend to look through my old sketchbooks maybe once every year or two, and pardon me, I have dated them on the covers, and the biggest years for me drawing were the years between 2007 and 2008. So it was after this time when I got all this back from South Africa and all the medals and all that's not important, but I think that that's kind of what kicked off my desire to get better and to work more on this, because I felt like there was actually some talent hiding in there somewhere, and it must have panned out because it worked. I did end up drawing a shit ton. Like, a lot of it is really bad, but everyone goes through a phase where it's really bad until it starts to get a little bit better. But this is just the humble beginnings of little old Matty, and I thought that might be a fun thing to show you while I'm still testing my setup. Yeah, go over there. So yes, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. I actually quite like rifling through all of my old stuff every once in a while, because it's nice to look back on how far you've come. That's definitely something that I would recommend you guys do if you do have like a backlog of stuff. First of all, save all of your old stuff, because I really wish that I had more of my old stuff to look through. It's really fun to look back on these drawings, these mixed media projects, and all. I can get my thoughts in a straight line. That would be really handy of me. But I think this video has gone on a little bit too long, especially for a test. So tell me what you think of it so far. I would really like to go through all of the old books, but as you can see, there's tons of them, so I have to probably go through one book at a time. But let me know what you think. And, well, peace out.